Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I presume that you had a very fulfilling day attending the various talks, right? First of all, welcome to the second batch of PPE, right? Welcome all of you. Welcome all of you. My name is Professor Hu. I'm the coordinator of the PPE program. I believe some of you may have seen me or attended my talks. Right, so if you have attended some of my earlier talks, rest assured, I will not, bore you again with the same talk about how brilliant PPE is, why you should study PPE. No, this particular talk is to let you know what you can expect moving ahead, right? Right. So just very briefly, right? I don't think I need to say too much about this. Right. First of all, I congratulate all of you for coming to PPE. It combines, in my view, the best of all three elements critical to understanding some of the most important questions in the world today. Right. And the PPE itself has a long tradition. Well, it started in the UK, specifically Oxford. And it is usually, when it first started out, it is usually sort of like a training course for people who wants to go into government and politics. And it still is to some extent today, but of course the world has changed, right? And there's so many industries that will require the skill sets that PPE will allow you to have, right? Fundamentally, right, it is born out of this recognition that today many real-world questions, you cannot have just one singular perspective to try to address them. There will always be trade-offs, and in the term that they use is wicked problems. You solve one particular aspect, but you create another problem, right? So in order to fully address them, and I use the word address, not solve, because usually for wicked problems, nobody can really solve it per se. An example would be, can you solve poverty, right? Can you reduce social inequality, or can you eradicate social inequality, right? Can you get US and China to be friends, for example, right? Some of these problems, basically the answer is there's no solution, right? But you can actually, look at the issue, the best you can do as analysts, right? As students of the world, right, is that you want to try to understand the question as much as possible from a nuance, number one, a nuance perspective and a broad perspective that cover all angles, right? So that, if you are, once you have that training, that particular what I call developing the PPE eyes, meaning that whenever you look at a problem, let's say you take a look at a political problem, you will not just see it as a political issue. You will also see it from a philosophical point of view and what are the economics behind that political problem. To see it from a comprehensive perspective, and the hope is that by developing the skill sets when you go out to work, even in the private sector, you're able to provide value add for your company or for your employers, right? And then you are able to analyze that issue in a comprehensive sense. Maybe there's no solution, but the very least is that you have to grasp the issue in totality, right? Okay, so I believe all of you already know all of this. That's why you're here in PPE. So what basically can you expect, right? Now you got to have at least, or in fact not at least, you got to have 134 academic units at the end of the program in order to graduate, right? And it is, if you take a look at, compare it, PPGA and the other programs, you have basically, for PPE students, because you are the cream of the crop, right, you will be loaded with more modules, and by extension, that means more academic units, right? There will be major requirement basically meaning the core courses. Later I'll show you what those core courses are, which it's compulsory, right? It's compulsory, you cannot not take them, right? And these core courses are not something that is this just because we decided, oh, it's core, right? No, we deliberately and very meticulously decided on what are the kinds of fundamentals that is required for PPE students. So these courses, all the PPE students are required to take. And then there's something called the ICC, which I'm sure maybe you have heard talks by other professors or other NTU staff. This is something which all NTU students have to take. It is at a university level, so you get a chance to meet people from other schools, other faculties. And it is born out of this recognition that there are a number of interdisciplinary skill sets that transcends all other kinds of degrees, and which will be useful for an NTU student to actually learn, and so that they can be engaging global citizens, as they call it. So ICC, right? And then you have something known as BDE, or broadening and deepening electives, which means to say that, in short, there are other courses from other schools, not necessarily from the School of Social Sciences, that you personally find interesting. Maybe you want to take up, a particular course in the School of Engineering relating to AI, and which you want to learn some of the more technical aspects and see whether you can apply it to what you're learning in PPE. Well, if you find that particular BDE of use to you, please feel free to sign up for it. So, so there is scope for doing that, right? There's also, but the core of it would basically be the core courses. There is something known as the capstone project, which will be in your 4th year, which will delve more into certain specific topics relating to PPE. Yes? Are there what? Are there enough BDEs for minor? No, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. We actually for a PPE, I don't think you can. I think it's possible to do a minor in other related social science discipline, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not encouraged, because the PPE program itself is almost like taking 3 degrees, right? You have philosophy, politics, and economics. If you want to do one more minor, it's I don't think it's impossible, but we probably have to make a case why you want to do the additional minor, and what is that additional minor, right? But if you, let's say you are interested in a particular BDE, you may want to incorporate that BDE into your final year project, right? You can make a case for it, and then try to discuss with the school. Right? And then of course there's the bulk of it, right, other than the major requirements, will be something known as the major prescribed elective, which will encompass a range of modules that is being offered by the School of Social Sciences, including the School of Humanities, because it will incorporate philosophy subjects. Right? And later I'll show you the list as of now, because the list itself changes every year. Right, so these are the core courses, right? So you see there's all the key fundamental courses relating to politics, both domestic politics and external politics. External politics, we have international relations. And it's not just about the political aspect, there's also the public administration aspects as well, which will be very useful for those who are keen on joining the public service, right? There will be, of course, all the core components of economics, right? Including econometrics and some of the basics when it comes to probability and statistics, and of course, some of the key courses relating to philosophy, right? So it is believed that at least, I'm not saying that, if you take all these courses, then you'll be an expert on all 3 areas. In some respects, right, being a PPE student, you are a generalist, right? Of course, if you are keen to specialize on particular elements, relating to economics or politics, you can certainly do so for your master's, but the degree itself is a generalist. You'll be a generalist, but you are not a generalist in anything, right? You're a generalist in some of the key components, as I mentioned, that we believe would help students address some of the key problems in the world, right? So these are major requirements that all PPE students have to take, and they'll be spread out over year 1 and year 2, right? These are ICC courses, right? As you can see, they talk about things of sustainability, science and technology, ethics and civics, and some of these subjects actually intersect with the things that you learn. For example, moral philosophy. They also cover aspects of ethics. And you may find that some of the ICC courses are actually at a more basic level because they cater essentially to a broad spectrum of students, right? But nevertheless, this is an NTU requirement. Even for your internship, right, it falls under the ICC, right? So essentially, this is like a baseline for all NTU students. If you're an engineering student, you are a math student, right? If you're an NIE student, you have to attend the ICC, right? Now, when it comes to the what is known as the major prescribed elements, there's a few number of permutations, right? You can choose any 6 courses at the level 2 or level 3, right? Level 2, level 3 basically meaning roughly pitch along the year 2 or year 3 level, and level 4 will be courses offered when you're in year 4, and choose any 4 courses from level 4, right? So, and you have to get at least 34 AUs pertaining to that, right? Now, there are a number of ways of doing this, right? As you go along in your MPE, as you go along in your PPE degree, right? You can focus on 2 particular fields. For example, let's say, after doing all the core courses, you find that you have affinity with economics because you're good with your numbers, or you find that maybe you like philosophy because you like to, question assumptions, and you like to delve into meta level questions, right? So yes, right, then it basically means that you have to take at least 4 prescribed electives from at least 4 from each of the 2 specialist disciplines, at least 1 from the other discipline, right? And then these are and of course the same applies. You still have to fulfill at least 6 level 2 and level 3 courses and 4 level 4000 courses, right? And then the permutation would change if you want to specialize in all 3 elements because you like all 3, then you take 3 of the prescribed electives of each, while at the same time fulfilling the below requirement of 6 level 2, level 3 courses and 4 level 4 courses, right? Not to worry about all these permutations, right? The actual specifics itself, you can always get it from the school, the undergraduate office. They will guide you, they will let you know. So, but in this case, I'm just sharing the information here, right? You'll be well acquainted with all these administrative details as time goes on, right? But at least for the first year, you'll be mainly taking the ICC courses and the core courses, right? So, probably in your year 2 or year 3, principally from year 3, year 4 onwards, then you probably have to think more about this. Probably in your year 2, because by then in year 3, you have to think about what kind of MPEs you will like. And you will have a better sense after the first 2 years. Right? These are some examples of the level 2000 courses. Right? This is, I want to qualify, accurate at this point of time, because sometimes certain courses are not available because maybe the lecturer himself is on a sabbatical, or this particular course has the intake, not many students are attending, so they may decide to scrap the course. But by and large, once we set up a course, right, we don't remove it frivolously, right? Because it takes effort to actually design and get the course approved. So these are some examples of level 2000 courses. Level 3000 courses, right? You can see that if, let's say, you're interested in philosophy, right, you delve into things like continental philosophy, right, and even in things like international relations, you delve more into things like China and Southeast Asia in the 21st century, the Chinese economics, politics of the developing world. So you think about it, there's actually such a rich buffet of courses that you can pad for your PPE degree, right? Some would ask, well, what's the difference between that and PPGA? Well, for PPGA, right, it's mainly heavily stacked when it comes to public policy and courses when it comes to politics, right? For PPE students, right, you have a greater choice when it comes to going for courses when it comes to economics and philosophy, right? That is one key difference. Right, not to worry, all these should either be on the website itself or the undergraduate office will have all the information. And these are, you can see level 4000 courses. As the level goes on, there are more and more courses, right? So, and because these are more specialist subjects, things like policy analysis in practice, right? Quantitative approaches to international relations, right? Japanese foreign policy, which is more of a niche area. Religion in plural societies, violence, peace, and identity, right? Even in terms of ethics, we really want to delve deep into a subject, right? You can have an entire course on happiness. You can have an entire course on what is the meaning of happiness, right? Which will differ from society to society, right? Right, and these are the other major requirements, right? Internship, right? All students, not just for PPE students, all students in the School of Social Sciences will have to do an internship, and I think that is something usually for internship, it's almost compulsory these days, right? It is for you to show to your future employers some real life experience as it relates to industry. Not to worry, I think the school itself has a internship office, and they would guide you along when you in your year 3, right? Some of them are actually quite proactive. They actually actively seek out internships even when they're in year 2, and by the time in year 3 they already have sort of an internship offer. And of course, you can work with the school to try to implement that particular offer, right? So it shouldn't be difficult in a sense of usually I understand it, the school will approve, right? There will be a compulsory capstone course. More details will be shared in due course. And lastly, there will be a graduation project. Now, graduation project is very important because right, if you want to get higher distinction, right, you need to do a graduation project, right? And it will be compulsory for students of CGPA 3.9 and above, right? And most students would qualify for a graduation project, right? If you don't graduate with, you don't qualify for a graduation project, it will have some implications for the grading of your final degree. So, and this means that you have to maintain a consistent level for year 1, year 2. It's not like you can coast along for the first 2 years and then think that, well, I just put in more effort in year 3 and year 4, right? It's not the O levels or the A levels, right? This is about consistent effort. And now one difference is that for the graduation project, or what they call the final year project, they used to call it the final year project, you have 2 supervisors from 2 different majors, right? So your particular project, your particular question, and the particular question itself is not assigned by the school. It's up to you to think and propose. And you have to come up with an interdisciplinary question. For example, if you are taking a bipartite track and you focus most of your electives on politics and economics, most likely you will be doing a final year project or graduation project on a subject that intersects both politics and economics. You have to think about that question, right? And then the school would help you assign the respective supervisors that will help you with your graduation project. Now, sometimes I do get a question of, let's say if I am interested with a interdisciplinary subject that is actually outside of the scope of the School of Social Sciences. For example, I want to do about AI in politics. And then maybe you want to have a supervisor from the engineering department. For example, I'm just giving a hypothetical situation. It's not impossible. Show us your proposal and discuss with the school, because we would have to look for the supervisor from the other school and to get his agreement whether or not this is something that particular supervisor can offer his expertise. Right? So it's not impossible, but it really depends on your project and your proposal. Right? But not to worry at this point, because this is something you'll have to think more about when you go to year 3 and year 4. Right? But it's good to know that you have to maintain consistent progress and try to get a CGPA of above 3.9 so that you qualify to do a graduation project. Right? So it's worth about 8 AUs, which, if you ask me, depending on the particular subject, is roughly about 2.5 courses. So it's, and usually, students who do well for their graduation project, they are well on their way to scoring the highest distinction, which I believe is the aim for all of you here. Right, so this is a suggested study plan. Operative term suggested. I'm not saying that you would have to do so, but this would be roughly a scope of what you can expect when you come in for your 4 years PPE program. As you move through the years, this is roughly, right? Of course, there are tweaks along the way, but this is roughly what you can expect in terms of the cost distribution in PPE. Right, you can see the internship itself is in year 3, the summer of year 3 or the end of year 3, right? The holidays is usually in the holiday period. And year 4, there will be less modules you'll be taking because taking into account the fact that you essentially will be doing your graduation project over the 1 year. I myself, I'm supervising at least 3 to 4 students doing graduation project. Right? So it's quite intensive because you essentially have to write a 1,000-word dissertation on a question that is of relevance to both the literature and indeed to the world. Right? And coming out of the question is actually the difficult part, not so much of the answer if you ask. Right? So, but of course, you're not sure. You can always seek help from your instructors or your mentors. Right? Right, so I've come to the last of my slides. I'm not going to, bore you too much with some of these details, but basically, just to say hi to all of you, make sure that all of you are in good shape, and all of you look like you're in good shape and enjoying things. But just 3 tips that I always tell my students, I always tell my freshmen when they come in, and it's not just applicable only for PPE students, for everyone, right? Now, the first thing I always tell my students when I see them in year 1 is that, well, actually university life is a marathon, right? So you've got to pace yourself, right? At this moment of time, there's a lot of information, probably information overload. You'll be making friends, everything is so interesting, right? And you have a lot of interest that you want to explore, right? And I always tell my students that, yes, the time in your university is the time that you really should explore things that you maybe never thought you'll be interested in, But at the same time, don't overload yourself, right? And you should pace yourself, right? There's no point, burning yourself out in the first 2 years, and then when it comes to the year 3, year 4, you just find that you are sick of your particular degree, or maybe you find that university life is meaningless. Maybe you want to go out and work and earn money and things like that. Well, so don't burn yourself out in the first 2 years, right? It is a marathon, and it is also the fact that it is a marathon is reflected in the way the university assess students, which is why they look at the CGPA. So it's okay, that's why CGPA is the fairest, right? Sometimes there may be certain subjects that you may have no affinity with, or you just find, hey, this is really very boring, and then you don't do particularly well for that particular subject, right? But there will be other chances and other opportunities for you to catch up, which will help pull up your CGPA, which is a more accurate reflection of 4 years of hard work, right? So your CGPA, if your CGPA is bad, then it is an accurate reflection of the fact that 4 years, maybe you have not been putting too much effort, or maybe this particular degree you're not just cut out for this particular degree, right? And number 2, also keep things in perspective and take care of your well-being, because mental health is something not to be taken lightly, right? Because once the term starts, things will be very intense. You can speak to your seniors and they can vouch for you that things will be very intense, right? There'll be so many assignments, tests. So stress is inevitable, right? But amidst all this stress, I always tell my students that, sometimes they come and tell me that, I'm sorry, but they didn't do very well for my course and things like that. I don't blame them, because I know that, especially if I know that they have tried their best, right? At the end of the day, university is just one point in your life, and I'm sure, some of the lessons that you learn in university may not be related to the curriculum, right? I'm not sure what, but it's up to you to take out from the experience in university. Lastly, I would encourage all of you to be questioning, both of your faculty instructors and also of your peers, right? There's this magic word, that I always tell my students is, just ask, right? Now, nobody will be offended if you ask, right? Sometimes, we live in an Asian context, right? People might think, if I ask too much questions, I'm not sure whether the lecturer will think that, I'm a pest, or they think that, I'm trying to be a smart aleck. Well, my honest answer is no. In fact, the one thing that lecturers don't like is a quiet lecture room. It looks as if we are talking to ourselves, right? We want engagement. We want our students to challenge us constructively on the things that we are talking about, right? So just ask questions. Your lecturers are also not like, they don't have all the answers in the world. Even, they don't have all the answers in the world. So sometimes by asking questions, you're also helping them. They'll say things like, hey, I didn't think of it that way. That's a fresh perspective. So you're also helping your lecturer as well, your professor, to look at things from a fresh perspective. Because sometimes, as academics, we dwell so much in a specific issue that, we may not see things from the other side, that students sometimes, when they ask, would help us question our assumptions. So my point is that be questioning. Always ask your instructors and your professors if there's anything that you're not sure, right? Not only in class, you can always feel free to email them. They may be busy, but I believe most of them will be dutiful enough, right, in their teaching duties to respond to you. At least for me, right? So, but my advice is, you have these are. I don't even want to use the word hacks. Right? I'll say 3 tips, right? So 3 modest tips for you to consider that will help you, right? Now, before I go into the Q&A, I would like to also introduce Professor Eric Cheng. He will be your professor for the core module in year 2. So maybe, Eric, you want to say a few words?
My name is Eric Cheng. I'm actually brand new to NTU as well, so I'm very excited. So I'll be teaching the capstone course, but also the gateway course. This will be in the spring. So just to give you a sense of what we'll be talking about, so we'll be having, it's basically an introduction into all 3 of the disciplines, politics, philosophy, and economics, and we'll see how they interact with one another. So we will be seeing that through engaging in specific topics. So just to give you a sense, right? So we'll be investigating maybe human nature. What does it mean to be human beings? Are human beings, are they individualistic? Are they social? Maybe there are balance of the two, or a mix of the two. What is cooperation? Why do human beings cooperate? Why should they cooperate? What might be barriers to that cooperation? How might we overcome those barriers? Also, equality. What is equality? What's economic equality, maybe, so like rich people, poor people. What is maybe equality between different ethnic or racial groups? Is equality a good thing? If it is a good thing, how should we try to achieve it? What are some barriers to equality? And then finally, also, we'll take a look at the proper relationship between government and markets, right? So how much government should we have? How much should we rely maybe on the free market? Is there an appropriate mix between the two? So we'll do that, and then through that we'll see, get a sense of all 3 of the disciplines, again, how they interact with one another. We'll also be introduced to specific tools that each of these disciplines offer us to answer these questions. So I'm really excited. So I'll see, I think 6 of you in the breakout sessions afterwards, but would be very happy to talk to any of you at any point. And definitely, as the professor said, please never hesitate to email me if you ever want to talk about any questions. So thanks so much.
Thanks. All right, okay. I've actually reached the end of my talk, right? Because I gathered that there's no need for me to convince you that PPE is fantastic since you're all here. So I just focus on some of the core points on what you can expect, right? Does anyone have any questions? Anything that you are unclear, or anything you want to find out more, right? If I'm able to answer, I will try to find out from the undergraduate office, or I'll get them to follow up on your particular query, right? Anyone has any? You look familiar, Brian, right? I thought I saw you some time ago. 5 times, right? You attended the talk. Did you attend some dinner? Yeah, right. All right, great. So it looks like my dinner pitch worked. Right. Okay, great. Yeah. I think the NTU. I think the school made the right choice, right? Anyone has any questions? Any comments? Yes, please. Right, good question. Right, I think you will get a chance to indicate your preference, right? But I hate to say there's no guarantee, because it depends on the specific employers. And some jobs, I understand, it can be quite competitive. Some particular companies can be quite competitive, right? I suppose if there's an internship position for Meta, I can, not just for NTU, I can expect many people from other universities also competing for that 1 or 2 internship position. So it depends on the role, the company, but by and large, all students will get, because it's your requirement, right? All students will get a chance to get internship, right? But for this particular degree program, we'll try to put students, if possible, in the public service, right? Some of them, I understand, they are actually working in the ministries, right? Or public communications companies consultancies. But again, I don't want to overpromise because the purview lies with the internship office. So, but what I suggest, because is that you be proactive, you go and look for the internship office and ask them now on what to expect, and they'll give you appropriate advice, right? Let's say you say, I'm very interested in working in a ministry, maybe this specific Ministry of Defense, for example, right? What do I need to do to get internship, right? Some of them actually proactively go and get their internship, and then they go and tell the NTU, say, hey, I already got an internship from this particular company. Can you help tie up with them? So that's another way, right? Or you can just wait for the school to help you look for one, right? Right. I think it's if I'm not wrong, it is a university level office, right? So it's not like a school level office. So it's a university level office that help students with internship, right? Yeah, Brian. Yeah. If you go overseas for exchange program, which we strongly encourage as well, and most students do at least go for a semester, right? You have to take the core module here in NTU, which means to say that, let's say you're, for example? Not necessarily you have to match with PPE, because not all the universities would have PPE, right? You have to go to, the way I understand it, you go to, usually it's related School of Social Science, another School of Social Science, another School of Politics. But the advantage of PPE, because you straddle all three disciplines, you probably have more departments to go for exchange, right? I mean, if you want to make the case, you want to go for exchange to, to do, to study astronomy, maybe a little bit difficult, right? Maybe a little bit difficult, right? But by and large, so long as it deals and relates to PPE, I see why not, right? Yeah. Yes. Right. Modules exclusive to PE students. Yes, one is the core module. The core module is something quite unique, because if for students of other departments, right, they would also maybe, so when you take a course, for example, on Introduction to Politics, you will meet PPGA people, right? But at the end of it, right, there will be a core module which Professor Eric will put together, will address. That's why it's in the year 2, because in year 2 you would have taken the basic courses of politics, philosophy, and economics. But PPE itself is not, learning all three in isolation. How do you combine all three, right, and to integrate them, or at least to look at issues from an integrated perspective, is what the core module would further delve into, right? So that's one difference. And second difference is that there will be a capstone project. At this present moment of time, we are still trying to fine-tune the challenge of the capstone project, because we want to make sure that the capstone project is not another graduation project, right? So we are still fine-tuning the details, and more information will be given in due course. But rest assured that the capstone project will be something challenging and unique, right? And at this present moment of time, I don't want to overpromise. We are also thinking of conducting a seminar series, exclusive only to PPE students, right? In fact, as of today, I was sort of planning this thing. So it will happen, right? So these are something which are different for PPE students. Yeah. Yes. This is your year 2. The core module, right? In second semester. Second semester. This academic year, year 2, right? Yeah. Yes, yes, yeah. We have the man there. Right? So Professor Eric is very highly regarded. So rest assured that you guys will. I'm almost sure that you will have a good time at the course, right? Right. Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Do you want to share anything? You have anything to share? We have a year 2 student here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right. You look at them; they are, so vibrant, so dynamic. So, right, there's concrete evidence. Okay, okay. So, not to worry. Of course, you have any questions, and definitely you have questions along the way. Right, it's natural. Feel free to email the school. You can email me, and then I'll try my best to assist. Okay, so. I think now we can, I don't want to waste unnecessary time. Maybe you can break out into your mentor, mentees. Do you know who's your mentor? It's either myself or Professor Eric. Maybe, those who are, yeah.